Nitin, help us understand, what is it like to launch a digital bank? What are the core components that you need to even launch it, including AWS, of course?
Sure, Saurabh. So yeah, being a digital bank, first of the basic thing is no brick and mortar, and that's where I think regulations also helped with both Hong Kong and Singapore launching a digital bank. And I would go just beyond maybe 6 years when Hong Kong started with a digital bank, and first year they give licenses to 13 banks, and we built mocks on AWS, and that definitely helped us to get a head start into this market. So we launched mocks, and then we got Singapore license, and that's where we continued with the AWS journey. So the key component of a digital bank is a strong cloud partner, and which gives you scalability, agility, portability. And yes, obviously, we work with many SaaS partners like MoEngage, which integrates with cloud platform to deliver what we are.
Fantastic. Felix, you run banking, vertical, GTM. What are you seeing in the market in terms of adoptability of cloud? You know, some of the traditional banks who've been around for hundreds of years, are they starting to migrate some workloads to the cloud, or is it mainly digital banks?
So if you look at the APJ area, I would say the financial services industry has a lot to thank to all the digital banks. We call it the halo effect. It was largely the digital banks who introduced innovation, also a little bit competition. And if you look at it like this, right, the regulators provided those licenses, the digital banks came out, they built fairly quickly, went to market, expanded, for example, here in this case, first mocks in Hong Kong, then they expanded into Singapore. I believe that wouldn't be possible without the cloud, right? Imagine you want to build a bank, it has to be highly secure, it has to be highly resilient. And if you build something new, and if you're in retail, maybe your cloud is every day. But in the bank, how they would do it in the past is they would invest, let's say, $100 million into infrastructure first, and then they would start building. So what these digital banks did is they basically went to market fairly quickly, were obviously regulated. But then in this case, less than 12 months, launched a bank, grew, and added new products. And I think that is enabled through technology. Now, the important point, of course, is it has to be all secure, and I think that is what we at Amazon always say is security is job zero. So it also has to be enabling them to feel confident when they go to a regulator and say, hey, I want to build my bank in the cloud.
Got it. See, building a bank is no joke, and without, like you said, without a service like AWS, you'd probably be buying servers, installing servers in a data center, probably will take you about 4 years. So we've come to a stage where all of a sudden licenses got granted. I think 6 in Singapore, 13 in Hong Kong, is that right? The first...
8 in Hong Kong?
3 retail, 2 corporate.
Yeah.
3 retail, 2 corporate as well. What does that mean for the future of banking now? Now, anybody who's got a banking license, not anybody would get it, but there are contenders. Once they get a banking license, it's much easier now to launch a bank. Does then a bank get commoditized? And I'll break down my question. My parents' generation would never switch a bank. It's very hard to do it. Even before Trust Bank came into being, even in Singapore, it's very hard to switch your bank. You got to go into a bank, fill in the new application forms. Now there's Trust Bank, and there's new digital banks coming up as well. Do they then get commoditized, and how do you retain your customers then? Nitin?
Interesting one, Saurabh. So again, like I'll break it into few parts. So yes means giving a future of banking, if we take that as a theme. I think it's definitely changing, and specifically with digital banks coming in. And that's why they are called challenger banks. They are challenging the norm of nobody wakes up in a day and say, I have to go to a bank. And that's what digital bank is like. So if I break down into 4 or 5 pillars, let's start with analytics. It's all changing from descriptive to predictive. You should know what your customer next demand is, and if you can meet it, either through a right offer, through a right product, that's you win the game. To run that kind of a system, you can't rely on big servers, big rooms, brick and mortar model. That's where cloud comes into play. Scalable, portable, agile, secure, fast. So that's where most of, I think, most of the digital banks are cloud hosted. Real-time and personalization, again, very key metrics. Again, somebody in previous session also says right time, right offer, right client. That equation is not changing, but it's just that you don't overdo it. Where is the line between personalization and taking care of what customer real demands are, that you need to be careful to draw and don't cross that. But on the other hand, obviously meet the client demands. Gen AI, LLMs are changing the face in a very rapid manner. We need to adopt. So again, and specifically for FIIs, security being a top concern, how you learn that, adapt that, and use it for your advantage. And lastly, taking your example of your parents, so I think now that line is gone, that digital savvy. Anybody who can operate a mobile is your customer. And proud to say, I think 12 to 13% of our base is 60-year plus. So, which we were also not imagined when we launched the bank.
That's a really good statistic. Sorry, say that again.
Statistics.
What percentage?
12%.
12% of your total customer base is above the age of 60. Yeah, wow. Nobody could have guessed 3 years ago that somebody's going to get on stage and make that statement. That's brilliant. Similar to 15 years ago, nobody could have said there'll be a bank 100% on AWS. Felix, in terms of AWS offering for banking, what do you feel the future of banking is going to be?
I would say there will be more banks like Trust, so there will be more digital banks. And the banking process will kind of almost disappear. It will kind of embed itself into the processes of our everyday life. And so in this case, Trust doesn't have any branches, right? Do we really need branches? Probably sometimes. For a product like Saifi, even that's proven you don't need it. So I believe, yeah, it's going to shift towards a fully digital model in all markets. COVID has accelerated, as you said. Older people are also now comfortable with it. And while maybe initially digital banks will, concept for digital banks and the other banks is a primary account and a secondary account. So usually when you start a new banking relationship, you start first with having that as your secondary account. So you use it for everyday purchase, but you're not putting your big savings in there that you put into your primary account where you have your payroll and all that. We're seeing the shift going much faster now, for example, for someone like Trust Bank, moving from your incumbent bank to someone like Trust, much faster than we saw 7 years ago. So I believe digital banks are the future and will embed their services into everyday's life.
And Felix bring one important point, sort of like this traditional bank concept more or less is going away. Now it's an ecosystem play. Trust is a great example of Standard Chartered and NTUC. Mox is a great example of Standard Chartered, C-Trip, and Hong Kong Telecom. So our largest grocery store, largest insurance providers are coming with banks. C-Trip and telecoms are coming with bank. And both see synergies, and that's one of the reasons what makes Trust successful.
Fantastic. Great to hear. I'm going to go back to that previous question again. Then does the bank become commoditized? Like, how do you differentiate between Lazada and Shopee today? E-commerce has become commoditized. If there's another bank, how do you retain your customers?
Yeah. And going back to my first slide, when we started, do Singapore need a bank? So yes, right tools, right partners, personalization, how do you do differentiated offering? So maybe if I want to call out 2 key differentiators of Trust, first I would say transparency in digital rewards. Rewards was always there. It was always hidden. Nobody had put it right in front of customer. Here is your reward. Here is your chance. Do 5 times, you will get multiplier
It's
rewards.
always hidden in T's
So
and C's,
it's
and you have to
always,
go
and
find it
like
yourself.
you never redeem it. Here, like we are seeing redemption as good as a reward earned.
And do you think that's why the referrals are very high?
Exactly. Like our partner is a famous brand. Everybody goes to fair price. So now going to the same store, you are getting more rewards, and bank is taking care of your rewards and reminding you how you can get more cash back. What else you need? And second one, I think most of the people use it, but our forex feature. So when we do a research, and Singapore being such an interesting geography that any long weekend and people travel out, and we take that feedback and we come out with a zero forex. So which means we don't charge any markup on the forex, and your rate would be more or less same like a Google rate. And that becomes such an interesting feature, which is liked by customers, which gets us more international spends and more sticky card transactions.
Fantastic. Felix, outside of Singapore, you look after Asia Pacific and Japan market. Obviously, in Singapore, there's a lot of ease of doing business. The government, makes things move very fast. What are you seeing outside of Singapore, markets like Indonesia, Philippines? Are you seeing banks launching and becoming as big as Trust Bank has become in record speed, or do they have different challenges?
So I would say for a small market in number of population, this is quite impressive. But yes, so the digital banking license frameworks have been adopted by most regulators across the region. I think there were roughly about 85 new licenses issued over the last 7 years across APJ. In addition to that, what you also see is that larger banks spin off smaller banks with the existing license. We at least call them internally digital banking offshoots. And those are being built also on a complete cloud-native stack usually, to really kind of prove out to the mothership bank, yes, you can build a technology, yes, you can do hyper-personalization, yes, you can use AI, Gen AI, all that. And you can achieve a better customer experience, and that will then be brought back to the main bank. We're seeing this across the markets. In Philippines, I think there are 6 new digital banks. Malaysia, I think 5. Korea 3. Australia also a lot. India is so everywhere. And I think that's a trend that just got accelerated, not only by regulation but also by COVID.
Fantastic. We just signed the largest digital bank in Australia, and out of the 6 in the Philippines, we work with 3 of them. I find they're slightly slow in terms of their launch compared to the way Trust launched and grew, but they're getting approvals from their financial authorities fast to be able to make digital banking available to a larger chunk of the population. I want to hear your final thoughts. What do you think banking would look like in 10 years? And then we can perhaps wrap up. Felix, what do you think? Will we have physical banks at all? Will Trust Bank end up having physical locations? Would bank become fintech wallet plus buy now, pay later plus?
So you earlier made a point about, is it commoditized? I think for the commodity products, yes, it will completely disappear. The bank will become a utility, and you will not see it anymore. Yes, you know the brand, it's there, you know your funds are safe and all that, but it will be embedded in your everyday life. However, I don't think that's going to be true for example, when you buy a mortgage product or a highly invested product where you feel like, oh, I'm going to put my life savings into that. There you still want to talk to someone and see the person's face-to-face, and maybe you don't know exactly what questions to ask. So yes, there will still be branches, there will still be a personal relationship, but it will be enhanced by technology.
Got it. I got my first home loan in 2015 from loans.com.au. I never spoke with anyone. I did a phone call, but there was so much information available on the website, and I was completely new in that market. If I could do it in 2015, I think in 10 years' time, the cohort of people who would need to talk to someone to understand how to apply for a mortgage, what's interest rate and all that, I think it's going to continue reducing. Because eventually, the lesser the cost, of offering the loan, it will impact the percentage of your interest rate as well. So you might as well get a lower interest rate rather than talk to someone and pay a higher interest rate. Nitin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think sort of the way it's changing, maybe next 5 years, not even 10 years. So yeah, all the buzzwords, digital, hyper-personalized, that's all stands. But I think the biggest one would be embedded banking. So it would be part of an ecosystem. It's part of the plate. It's like, it's not an end, it's means to an end. So you live your daily life, you do your everyday thing, and wherever you need a bank, there is a bank available. So I think, again, this partnership is a start point. But what I'm in 5 or 10 years, what you are saying, my kind of goal is, you get up, you have a list of offers, what you like for breakfast, and and then there is a taxi for you pre-booked, and then you walk it into office, and lunchtime you get a one-on-one offer at your place of like. And so the whole idea is that you live your life, you do your everyday activities, and then wherever there is a need, either for a loan or for a day-to-day transaction, or for your future planning, for your legacy planning, that's where right needs are coming out with the right partners.
Maybe just to add to that,
Yeah.
I think that is really the winning recipe, right? The partnership model that Trust and also Malx had was, what we are seeing at least, is the one good differentiator for all the winning digital banks. All the successful ones have a partnership with someone outside of financial services. This could be a telco, this could be a ride-hailing, this could be a chat app. So access to customers, strong loyalty to a brand like NTUC, and in this case, even Standard Chartered. I think that's what is really differentiating the digital banks at the moment.
Great. I'll wrap it up with this. As consumers, we wake up, thinking, okay, how I'm going to get to work? What am I going to have for dinner? What I'm going to do on the weekend? Maybe I'll watch a movie. There are a lot of questions we want answered. But does anybody wake up thinking that, yeah, maybe I want to visit a bank today? We want to avoid it, right? So the world didn't need to go through COVID for digital bankings to be fast-tracked, but I think one good outcome of that lockdown was a lot of digital licensing got fast-tracked, and now we have access to much easier financial services. So congratulations, Nitin.
Thank you.
Sorry, you were saying something, Felix?
And actually, so this is important for regulation, is the onboarding process.
Yeah.
A lot of markets before COVID didn't allow non-face-to-face onboarding, which meant you had to go to a branch to open an account. And Singapore obviously allowed that fairly early, but most other markets not. And only with COVID, they said, all right, you can open a bank account with eKYC.
Like I said earlier, I remember my first time coming to Singapore, got my EP sorted. It took 4 days even to get an appointment to open up a bank account. And even after that, the savings card took a week, credit card took another week. I don't think it was convenient at all. Nitin, you were saying something?
No, I was just adding to that point, like that's where like Singapore, bit easy market,
Yeah.
being regulated market, bureau available, eKYC possible. But yeah, in a non-that mature markets, I think that's where data plays a big role. So your alternate models, alternate credit checks become relevant. But it's happening. Like take Philippines, take Vietnam, take Cambodia. These are, and they can't rely on a single source. And that's where multi-models and learning from the best tools is what driving the growth.
It's amazing, Nitin. Typically, I meet people who've done one big achievement in their entire career. You've been a part of the core foundation of 2 digital banks. So congratulations.